Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today we are going to be looking at the weekly metagame breakdown for Final Fantasy Standard Best of 1 Best Decks post-ban. So we've had a couple days now for the metagame to start settling, seeing where things are at. Some folks are already making it into Mythic after the ladder reset. Today we're going to be looking at Diamond and Mythic rank to see what folks are playing. There's actually quite a few cool, not heavily played before or new takes on decks that community kind of brought together. So I'm going to leave out some stock lists that are just continuing to do reasonably well. Things like mono black midrange that have remained unchanged. It's at 55% win rate. You can imagine what the deck is at this point here. If you want to see it, look at literally any other video from the past weeks. You'll find the exact list. So we got a return of some various red decks for those who have been asking me, but I had mono red crafted. What do I play now? So got some ideas there for you. Myself, like I've been climbing with Gruul Delirium. I put out a full video demoing that as I'm trying to get prepared for both qualifiers and RCQ season with the deck and paper since they banned my mono red mice deck. So we will take a look. Quick thing before we jump into it, we are 12 subscribers. Yes, only 12 from 18,000. If you'd like this type of content, want to support, it's free, easy, helps out the channel. So like, comment, subscribe. Try not to do that, self-endorsing stuff too often, but we're close to another milestone on the channel. So all these deck lists will be in the video description, along with the link for Untapped, what you're seeing the data from on the screen. If you want to access any of that, follow in the video description. So looking at where the metagame is settling, the Dinosaur Reanimator deck at 11%, Rabbits at about 11%, and then pretty big drop off. Mono Green Landfall, it's got like a 53% win rate. We're not going to cover it today. It's pretty glass cannon-y. Azorius Control, 4.2%, 4% for Lifegain, 4% for Mono Red. Then we have various kind of Izzet Monument style decks that are kind of popping around, like the PT lists. They're doing pretty mid. Something, again, we're not going to cover too much. And then people are just trying to bring in their Dimir mid-range decks from best of 3 into best of 1. A deck that's probably better in best of 3. The last standard challenge, 7 of the top 8 positions on MTGO were all Dimir mid-range. So it's doing very well in that format there. Just at least from what I'm seeing in Diamond, it's been a lot of like blue-white control. Not necessarily that it's winning, just feels like it's a lot there. Could just be like confirmation bias though. So we are going to jump into it. 25,000 games from the 30th of June through to the 5th of July. We'll cover really quick, but mono white Lifegain is actually the highest win rate for the week. 61%. Pretty stock list. We see Leyline of Hope that gets you extra life and acts as like the Righteous Valkyrie effect. Night Air and Evios for kind of card advantage. Then you got your Johnny Pride mates, Essence Chandlers, and just a bunch of ways to gain life. Healer's Hawk, Leon and Vanguard, Rune Lurker Bat, Sanctifier is kind of your Soul Warden style effect. These get bigger. Sheltered by Ghost is your only removal. Can have some aggressive curves where you go like 1 drop into Pride Mate into Linden, gain a bunch of life to kind of go from there. But between Banishing Light, Sheltered, kind of luck out, get the Leyline in your opener. But pretty linear deck, doesn't have really much long game, very dependent on how your draw goes. Pretty simple deck to pick up if you're newer to Magic, just kind of executing the game plan. So I'm going to cover 3 different types of red based decks that are picking up. So we have Rakdos Aggro. We have the return of the dreaded Rakdos only basic mountains. These lines are actually really sick, these mountains. But Callous Sellsword as the quote-unquote black card here. So this is an update on the Fling deck. So you have your Scamps, no Heartfire heroes anymore. Swift Spears is your other 1-drops. Mirren Bane Splitter as a pump effect. Auto-equips, Felonious Rage for haste, along with Wild Ride for haste, just extra power. Demonic Ruckus in here. And then we have Red Mage's Rapier. So 2 mana with drop select, so it comes in with a 1/1 that gets equipped to it. Then whenever you cast a non-creature, it's kind of like the super prowess, similar to Slick Shot Show Off. So think of it as not hasty, not plottable, not evasive, Slick Shot Show Off in that place. There's that version. There's this one here, Hidetsugu's Second Right. This one's at 58%. So actually from when someone must have won a game and it jumped the rank. When I pulled these, this one was behind it in terms of the ranking. So someone is playing this and winning some games. So we have here 24 lands, seems a little bit much, but you do have Tursa to kind of loot away at the stuff. This deck is about getting your opponent to 10 life, and then you one-shot them with Hidetsugu's second right. Main offenders, Burst Lightning, Higher Claw, Swift Spear, Shocks, Lightning Strikes. You have Viashino Pyromancer in here as a 2-drop that can ping your opponent for 2 damage. Also hit Planeswalkers. You have 1 Rockface Village in here that can haste out. This is a Lizard Wizard. Lizard Wizard, best typing. And then you have Hired Claw in here. No mice, just lizards. We then have, this one is from Sewage Mage, 71 and 40. They came in at, they got up to 99 mythic. And this is Boros Burn. So we have Bolt Waves as your kind of additional 1-drop burn. Your usual 1-drops in here for the Prowessy style shells, Ember Heart and Slick Shot. And then Lightning Strike, Helix, and Boros Charm, all as additional reach. 2 cases, 2 Screaming Nemesis. Case I really like just as a way to kind of refill your hand. You're going to be throwing a lot of spells at your opponent. You don't really reliably trigger Valiant on Ember Heart. It's more just as a prowess effect. So this kind of refills your hand in the grindier matchups. So we have that there. Moving on, we go to Selesnya Rabbits at 59%. So some of these people are playing games as we're pulling this up because I pull these in the order of what they show up on the list. But Rabbits, pretty stock. The only difference I saw with one list was playing a couple Get Lost in there. But the core of the deck is just go wide, kind of swarm, overwhelm targeted removal. Since you have things like the Hop to it that can make multiple bodies, Knight Errant refills your hand. This deck also kind of punishes targeted removal with things like Paw Patch Recruit. You can get pretty large with Trample with like Valley Might Caller. Valley Quest Caller sets up your draws through Scry and is a Lord. And then Sheltered is kind of your only removal. We then have Azorius Artifacts, 59%. So this is built around Simulacrum Synthesizer. 3 mana, whenever a artifact 3 CMC or more comes into play, you get a Construct. Power toughness equals to the number of artifacts you control. Playing it in a United Battlefront shell that lets you find your stuff. Repurposing bays like Birthing Pod that allows you to kind of find your next steps. Soul Guide Lantern for any sort of graveyard shenanigans. Also Torpor Orb shuts off ETBs, which is pretty sweet. And then if you don't need them, you can just go into more Simulacrums. I wouldn't probably spend a Mythic on Worldwaker Helm. 3 mana. You basically make a map token in addition to the token, and then you create a token that's a copy of target artifact token you control. So it's a mana sink once you get Constructs going. What I've been seeing some decks do is play 1 of Fire Crystal. Uncastable in the sense of you're not playing red mana, but it gives all your Constructs haste, and it's just something you can kind of pod into afterwards. So there's that kind of that element there. One thing cool is 3 steps ahead can copy artifacts, so you can copy your synthesizers as well at instant speed. Dynamites. Dinos is 58%. So this deck here is fairly explosive combo deck. So the best lines are Invasion of Urgamon, which seems like my opponent always has. On 2, into Zombify on 3. You bin one of the big dinosaurs, particularly Gishath. Or like Ghalta. The Ghalta could put cards into your hand into play. Tali lets you cascade, but Gishath's kind of the biggest way to kind of immediately push both damage and bring out creatures. With Rakdos Joins Up, similar effect in terms of reanimation, but if you have legendaries, they legend rule themselves when you get like multiples off, say, Gishath or Ghalta, and then when legendaries die, it deals damage equal to their power to target creatures. So it's a way to kind of get them that way there. So kind of like the way it is, if you interact with the graveyard, they don't really play too much removal, if any. Some of them play Bitter Triumph as a way to just discard, have like another discard outlet. Some are playing Seas of Soils, Collector's Vault as well. So 3 more community decks. So this one is from Exact Lethal, 76 and 55. They came in at, they've been hovering, like came in at the 300s, about 460s now. Went on a little bit of a bad losing streak here, but this is Grixis Discard Monument. So we got Kefka. Kefka's a sweet one. 5 mana, 4/5, kind of Nicol Bolas Ravager vibes. Enters or attacks, each player discards a card, then you draw a card for each card type amongst discarded. 8, you can transform and opponent sacks a creature. Then whenever an opponent loses life, you draw that many cards. You have kind of the overlords, kind of mill you into kind of pieces, as well as draw discard. You're playing the Monument of Endurance for value. So it's kind of a take on some of the like Izzet or Proph's Edict, Marauding Mako kind of style. Emmet also draws discards. Tersa, Steam Core all kind of play into that. Laughing Mad is another way to draw discard and then also get some value from your graveyard for flashback, some Cecils for early attackers, and then Bitter Triumph also plays into it, the draw discard of Ill-Time Explosion as well. I think a couple Soulstone Sanctuaries, a little ambitious in the mana base. In a 3-color deck to play 2 colorless lands when you have kind of gotta hit your colors in this deck. So a little bit, I think, ambitious in that regard. You can kind of just play more Verges or stuff like that. Then we have from Hasekura, they went 71 and 45 into top 200 Mythic with Izzet, we're gonna be here a while. So it's a Mind Splice Apparatus deck. Flashes in, and then beginning of your upkeep, you put an oil counter on it. Instant sorcery spells cost 1 less for it. And then it's basically just all answers all day. So you win either with Meringue River Regent eventually, or you win with Lindblom Industrial Regency with the Mage Siege, make a wizard, and then just ping your opponent to death. Monumental Facade puts oil counters, so you can move an oil counter from it and put it on an artifact. So you move it here, just get reduction. Things like Syncopate, Scale. You have Thunder Magic that basically can cost 1 at that point and deal 8 damage to a creature. You have just a whole bunch of removal, bounce, things like Fire Magic as sweepers. And then you have Sorcerer's Schemes. So return target instance or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand, or exile card with flashback you own to your hand. So you can get cards from exiled as well, and then you add a red mana. This can kind of just keep casting spells since you get the discount, and this lets you just kind of never run out of effects. You just keep returning cards to your hand, more stock up, stuff like that, and kind of go down. And then lastly, we have Merfolk. So 1 Kex, 5628, and they are 300-ish Mythic. Came in at like 200, hovering around 300. So Merfolk, one of the engines of the deck is Deeproot Pilgrimage. Merfolk's tap, you get more Merfolks with Hexproof. Counter stuff with Voldaean Hexcatcher. Mockingbird is honorary copies of Merfolks of your choice. Synode Scout helps you kind of explore, so you kind of have that explore theme with it too. Elves for early ramp along with the Wagon. Wagon plays really cool with the Pilgrimage because you just tap creatures and then you make more creatures. We have Deep Fathom Echo, which if you ask me what it does, I don't know because I've never seen this card yet played. 4 mana, 4/4, beginning of combat on your turn, it explores and you may have it become a copy of another creature you control on your turn. So just kind of more explore value. And then we have Summon Leviathan. This is a one-sided kind of bounce since all your creatures are Merfolk. So works that way, you bounce your opponent's board. And then whenever a Merfolk attacks, you draw a card with a ward 6/6 body. So kind of cool way there. And that is it for the week. Let me know what you've been playing, what you've been liking. If you want to see my Gruul Delirium list, there's a video on my channel with it. I go over a couple games just showing how to play. I explain card choices, everything like that. Some folks are asking some questions. The deck's pretty much rotation proof minus a couple lands and stuff. So if you're just looking for a deck to kind of keep yourself, I think it's a fun deck. I've played it in RCs, different variations. I think the shell's quite explosive and can definitely win games. So we will catch you next week. Thanks for watching. Have a great one.